Okay, this is English 373, week 2, part 9. This is probably going to be the last one we're going to do today, and I really just want to focus on one particular bit of Shakespeare. It's in the same Dagger of the Mind speech, and I really, really want to talk about it. It's one of those moments, like Lady Macbeth's kid, or it's more like Bellona's bridegroom. It's the kind of thing that you need a footnote for, and that movies don't have footnotes, and so there's no way to really get what's going on there unless you do a little bit of research, and that's why people go, well, Shakespeare wasn't meant to be read. It was meant to be seen on the stage. And so the only real, if you're seeing Shakespeare, you have to see it. You can't read it. Like, I get that. You should do both. But because if you only see the movie or you only watch a play, you're not going to have any footnotes, and things like Bellona's bridegroom are going to make no sense to you. If you read it in a book, you will understand things like Bellona's bridegroom, but it won't be like fully alive the way Shakespeare wanted it. So you got to do both. Anyway, this is one of those Bellona's bridegroom moments. I think it's one, again, Shakespeare is a master of psychology, and this is one of the best psychology moments I've ever seen anywhere. Let's take a look at it. I've actually already passed it. Macbeth is on his way to murder Duncan. Yo, zoom, what the hell? Macbeth is, it's having trouble zooming in. Okay, is that gonna fix it? There we go. Macbeth is on his way to murder Duncan, and he's got the daggers, and he's heading over there. And he says he's going to go over there with Tarquin's ravishing strides. Towards his design moves like a ghost. He's moving with Tarquin's ravishing strides. For starters, the word ravishing is interesting. It has an interesting history. Ravishing means to take away by force. To ravish is to take away by force. You'll often hear it used in the sense of like the pirates raided the village and they ravished the village, meaning they took away gold and jewels and things. But the word ravish has another meaning. And some of my students are familiar with ravish in a different way. Some of my students are familiar with it as a compliment. Ah, you look ravishing tonight, my darling. What that means, to say you look ravishing tonight, means you look so beautiful that you've taken me away from my date, myself. I'm in your control now. You've taken me with your beauty, or you've taken me away from this other person because you're so beautiful. But the word ravish has another meaning because of those pirates. Pirates and Vikings who would ravish the village would take things from the village, because ravished means to take away by force. But of course, they wouldn't just take gold and horses. They also took women. And so ravish, the other meaning of ravish is rape. That's especially important here because Tarquin, Macbeth is comparing himself to Tarquin. Well, Tarquin is an ancient Roman rapist. I think he raped a queen or a princess or something. I'm not up on my ancient Roman history. Also, there's like 6 people named Tarquin. We'll hear Tarquin's name again, by the way. He shows up in Coriolanus, or his name shows up in Coriolanus. But Tarquin is a famous Roman rapist. Now, this is a very strange thing for Macbeth to be thinking about, because all he wants to say is, I'm headed to Duncan's to murder Duncan, just like blah, 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 blah. There were a million people he could have mentioned. He could have said, I'm headed to Duncan. Actually, it would have made a lot of sense if he had said, I'm going to kill Duncan just like Cain, who killed Abel in the Bible. But he doesn't say that. He says, I'm going to get Duncan like Tarquin. But Tarquin's not a murderer. Tarquin's a rapist. This tells us something about Macbeth's psychology. Remember when I started with that Bellona's bridegroom thing, which suggested a link between rape and violence? Here it is again. Macbeth does not compare himself to an ancient murderer. He compares himself to an ancient rapist, when what he is doing is not rape, but violence. This is, for Macbeth, a real uncomfortable moment as he's on his way to kill Duncan. Macbeth is we were introduced to Macbeth is a ruthless fucking killer. He is a straight up murderer. He kills people, not murderer, but he's a battlefield expert who just slaughters motherfuckers on the battlefield. He kills people all day long. But this is different. A lot of my students are sometimes confused. Why would someone so brave on the battlefield be so timid here? But there are crucial differences between what he's doing now and what he did then. For starters, Macbeth is not killing an enemy, but killing a friend. Also, when Macbeth kills people, it's on a battlefield. So he's got a weapon, and they've got a weapon, and it's sort of a fair fight. He just wins all of them. The other guy can see him coming. He roars and runs at them with a sword and slices them to pieces. Here, instead of facing someone who also has a weapon on a battlefield, he is sneaking into someone's bedroom. That's not normal to kill an unarmed person who is not an enemy but a friend. So there's a lot of reversals here, right? Not an enemy, but a friend, not someone armed. They are unarmed. Usually they know he's coming. Now Duncan doesn't know he's coming. He's got a sneak. Macbeth is not a sneaky guy. He is a run at you with an axe screaming guy. So all of these things are very disturbing. But the other thing is that Duncan is in a bed, and he is going to go in there, and I don't know how to put this delicately, but he's going to plunge his little knife in and out and in and out and in and out and in and out of his body until he gets what he wants. It's a little like rape. It's also really interesting that that's how he sees himself. He feels more like a rapist than a murderer. And that's especially interesting because of that opening line, of that, page 2 or whatever, where they call him Bellona's bridegroom, and it creates a link between violence and sex. Here, we have the suggestion that for Macbeth, violence is sex. He sees it in terms of rape. Sexual violence and battlefield violence are linked in his mind. So that when he's on his way to murder someone in their bed, he feels like a rapist because of the sneaking, because it's someone he's supposed to care about, and because and because of all the weapons you could choose, the one that looks most like a penis is a dagger. I'm sorry I said that, but I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to say. I said it. There, we're done. There's a lot of Shakespeare. There's a lot of slang in Shakespeare's day. Not really in this play, I don't think, but there's a lot of kind of in the comedies. There's a lot of jokes where women's vaginas are referred to as sheaths because it sort of sheathes the penis in the way that a dagger would sort of go into a sheath on your belt. So there's a connection between kind of the weapons and sex and sexual violence. It is truly a fascinating detail that Macbeth sees himself. He sees the crime as sexual in nature. It's like Law and Order SVU. Even though it should just be a straight up and up murder, there is a fucked up sexual element to him. And we're really gathering a lot of really interesting details about Macbeth's psychology, that he's concerned about his masculinity, that the other people make a link between sex and violence. He also makes a link between sex and violence. He also sees Lady Macbeth's masculinity as being something that they should be passed on to their male children. Lady Macbeth sees if she wants to be violent, she needs to be more masculine. So there's just a whole bunch of like really interesting kind of psychosexual stuff floating around this play. Some of my students at this point are like, they learned this play in high school, and their high school teacher did not tell them any of this. Anyway, I think we're doing a really good job. I'm gonna wrap this thing. I think I'm done for the day. I feel like we hit a good stopping point, and I will see you guys next week. Yeah, good job. Go on the discussion board, talk about this stuff, ask me questions, make comments. Remember, you can respond to Shakespeare, you can respond to what I said, you can respond to other students. So just go on there and make some comments and suggestions and notes, and I don't know, tell me some things. I want to hear from you guys. I should be better about asking you guys questions, but I'm still not used to like online teaching. And I need to be like, here are 3 prompts. Pick one and write about it for the discussion board. But I'm just like, you're smart. Go on there and talk about shit. So I don't know. Look, I'm not that good at online teaching, so pick up the slack by being terribly clever on the discussion boards. And I'll see you on there. You guys are all delightful.